welcome back. As we promised, we do have an economic segment here. As Minister of Planning and Economic Development, Dr. Hala Saeed participated in the virtual forum to launch the Young Economists Network, which is set to provide the human capital for Africa's transformational economic development. Saeed welcomed the creation of the network for creating a learning and research platform to empower and engage a new generation of skilled young economists. We are very much delighted to have with us via phone Dr. Youmn Hamaki, our economic expert and our professor of economics, to shed more light on this and to shed more light also on the efforts exerted by the state to achieve the goals of Egypt's vision of a sustainable development to 2030. A very good morning to you, Dr. Youmn.
Good morning.
Dr. Youmn, let's start from what happened in 2016 and your vision regarding the economic reform program, which was launched 5 years ago, and if this was the very correct and right step on the right path to reach the Sustainable Development Agenda of Egypt 2030.
Actually, the importance of such meeting and forming, a network and platform for scientific economic researches are quite important for this period specifically, talking about the vision of Egypt 2030, talking about the situation after the pandemic, COVID-19, and the whole world nowadays are talking about how to build the resilience of economies, taking into consideration such a pandemic. Because as you know, every time we believe that we are about to finish from the pandemic and new variants, coming like what we are nowadays witnessing. And from here it comes that it become quite important for all countries of the world to build the resilience regarding how to address such a pandemic. I believe for Egypt and for the African continent, this is becoming more important. Why? Because we are in the middle of economic reform in Egypt. We are trying to move from the financial reform into the structural reform, in which we are taking care of improving the competitiveness of our economy, increasing the local content of our industrial sector. All these goals that are quite important and are not easy to achieve, besides keeping macroeconomic stabilization. All this necessitates, scientific research and macroeconomic models to find out how to select the right policies towards achieving such a macroeconomic stabilization. And this is the importance of, sharing experiences with other countries, specifically with the African continent, because we are about to implement a free trade area with African countries, which needs actually to move forward towards specifying points of comparative advantage, enhancing intra-investment as a gateway to achieve intra-trade and to enhance intra-trade. So I believe such a platform is quite important for this period of our transitional economy.
Yes, Dr. Youmn, and I'd like also to speak or to ask you to elaborate on the different social protection programs and the Decent Life initiative launched by President Abdel Fattah Sisi, and how those initiatives really participate or have a big share in alleviating the sufferings of many of the low-income people, and to reach also the goals of Egypt Vision 2030.
Yes, this is very important question. Why? Because, for the pandemic, the most needy persons are expected to suffer more. Poor people are suffering from the pandemic economically, you know, because most probably they are losing their opportunities of job, and if they are in a small business, you know, they are fragile, so they cannot cope with the impact of such pandemic. So from here it comes the importance of the social net and support for such small business. But what you mentioned about, you know, the initiative, the large initiative of you know,
decent life وحياة كريمة.
this is a very important initiative in order to improve the quality of life for all Egyptians living in different areas in several governorates. You know, we used in Egypt just to take big cities, you know, of life for people living in big city, leaving, you know, the governorates without support and without you know, public services and potentialities, increasing choices for people living in these areas, opportunities of.
Yes. Dr. Youmn, yesterday there was a very important meeting headed by President Abdel Fattah al-Sisi and attended by Prime Minister Dr. Mustafa Madbouli and a number of ministers to follow up. We are sorry, it seems that we lost connection with Dr. Youmn. I was speaking about a very important meeting which took place yesterday, headed by President Abdel Fattah al-Sisi and attended by Prime Minister Dr. Mustafa Madbouli and a number of ministers to follow up with on the latest preparations ahead of the climate change summit to be hosted by the Ritzy Resort of Sharm el-Sheikh. And President Abdel Fattah al-Sisi gave his directives to the executives to make this event a story of success and to have it as a chance to sign deals and protocols and memoranda of understanding with multinational companies to invite them or to attract them to invest here in Egypt in the field of environment protection and climate change, meaning that it seems that we do have once again Dr. Youmn. Dr. Youmn?
Yes. Yes, sure.
Dr. Youmn, I was speaking about this very important meeting which took place yesterday as President Abdel Fattah al-Sisi convened with a number of ministers and with Prime Minister Dr. Mustafa Madbouli to follow up on the latest preparations of COP27 due to be held in Sharm el-Sheikh next year, inshallah.
Yeah.
And he said that, or he directed the executives to take this event as a chance also to sign deals with multinational companies to invest in this field, in the field of the transition to clean energy and in climate change to achieve the goals of 2030, meaning that we are using, or the political leadership is keen to seize all opportunities to reach this goal, to reach the sustainable development goals of Egypt 2030. How do you see this vision, or how do you see this strategic plans to benefit or to seize all opportunities, even if it is a climate change summit?
Actually, this is very important, and you know, having this you know, awareness of the president regarding how to address climate change, and you know, the speeches that our president has delivered in these occasions proved to a large extent to how extent Egypt is taking into consideration achieving sustainable development, and actually concentrating on attracting investment in the field of addressing climate change, like in renewable energy and recycling and desalination of water. Actually, Egypt is exerting quite good efforts and having a very mega project like Benban in Aswan for solar energy. We have several projects to prove that we are taking care of you know, addressing climate change and taking into consideration achieving sustainable development. So I believe investment is quite important. Transfer of technology by attracting multinationals to come, and Egypt is having potentialities, like for Europe, for example. We can be a hub for generating energy by solar for Europe.
Yep.
And this is a very good opportunity to have, such kind of cooperation, because you cannot address climate change without transfer of technology and cooperation among countries of the world. And from here it comes the importance of such meeting.
I always learn and I always enjoy our discussions, Dr. Youmn Hamaki. Thank you very much for your input.
Thank you. Thank you, Shireen. Thank
Have
you
a
very
very
much.
good day.
Thank you.
We were very much delighted to have with us Professor Dr. Youmn Hamaki, Professor of Economics and our economic expert. Right after the short break, we are going to return back with more, so stay tuned.